Hi everyone, good morning. Thanks for joining. I think this is going to be the follow-up session from our last week. We finished Architect Data Platform in Azure 4 session, and today is the fifth session, I believe. Um, Fifth or fourth. Yeah, the fourth. This is the part 4 of the data platform. In the previous weeks, we talk about like creating a Cosmos DB and how we can create a Cosmos DB in a multi-distributed area and read copies. So all of these informations we captured last week. So today's the focus is for the insert and query data in your Azure Cosmos DB database. That will be covered today. Along with that, we will be covering some samples around graph databases. And the next week, we will be closing these two topics like synapses and analyticals. So these two area we will cover next week. And today we are going to explore more about the inserting queries, what are the features available, and then the GraphQL. Let me, sorry, not GraphQL, the graph databases. Let me take you to the Azure databases. So I think that last week we created a Cosmos DB, right? So I'm just going to the same one, but before, like just for a recap. So when you go to Azure Cosmos DB in the Azure portal, you will have option to create new, where you can say what is your resource group, what is your account name, and you can select what type of API you wanted. The last week we created a core SQL, and we also selected in the next stage like multi-region disable, geo enable. So all of this you can select based on your need. Once you created this Azure Cosmos DB account, then you can go to the account. This is the one last week we created. Once you create the account, you can go to the data explorer where you have option to create a container. So when you click a container, you will have option to mention your database ID, and we also explored the throughput last week, and the container name and your partition key. So for example, last week we created product is the database, container is the clothing, and the partition key we have given. Once you enter all of this information, you will get your product and then the clothing as your container. So within that items, we have a couple of items. So today we're just going to explore, once we create a container, how will you add your items? This can be done multiple way, but today we are going to use the Azure portal, how we insert. And this is similar to SQL Server, right? Many features, the keywords, what we are going to use today, you'll be familiar already. So some are like, you can see the settings auto available. If you want to create an additional container, you can create it, and you have the Synapse link, and you can create a notebooks, get repository connection. Then you have the new SQL query. So where you can select a query, and in the same query, you can also run some commands for all type of SQL commands. So today we are just going to add, because we selected the clothing as a container and item, we are going to add a new item. So when you try to add a new item, normally you get something like this, ID, replace the ID. So already I have ID 1 and 2. So if I wanted to add a new entry here, simply I go for that command of what is our the new items information. So I'm just going to get some data from here. So if I just paste some sample here, this is the one I added already here. So when you create, because it's a JSON format, you are adding ID already there. This is same as the ID one I inserted here. So just for namesake, we'll just change it to ID 3, and this number I will change it to 8. And I think this going to be some duplication we can create. So very simple, like the product ID, category, and all other parameters you can provide. once you inserted the JSON format based your information of the catalog, then you are ready to save it. When you try to save it, it's added a new item, which is 898. This is the one we added as a new entry we added. In a SQL query, what you will do simply like you say insert command, right? So insert command, and that will help you to add it. But here we had a new item by through the front end, the Azure portal we used. So this is the way you can add entries and through the Azure portal. Once you enter the information, then you can also look for some queries. So the queries you can do like you can go to the new query here, and then here I hope you already familiar with some SQL basics query, right? Like select star from, and the star from is the instead of table here we are going to have the container, and within the container you can explore some of the values. For example, here I go to select star from the product is my database. Within that I'm trying to get, so if I execute this query, I'll get the value of ID1, which is this, and which is giving me the result. In the SQL, normal SQL relation database, you get it in the table format, but because it is a JSON format, now we are getting in the JSON format result. And the same way you can do multiple queries, like if I wanted only specific, instead of all of this value, I wanted only the selected labels.
No, but how to write a query? Because this is via the portal, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If we have to write a query, suppose if we are going for coding and other things, right? The query will be part of the code, right?
That's correct. Like, so what you will do if you have a front-end application, and the front-end application is going to talk to your Cosmos DB for all the code operation, create, read, update, delete, because we got the API. So when you could, if you remember, when we create a Cosmos DB account, we select a type of APIs, right? So that is the API is your entry point. Using that API, you are going to
Okay.
connect to this database. From the front end, you will send this JSON format value. So for example, if you have some business logic, going to collect the front end form value. Once you submit it, the submit button will have a logic to construct this JSON format, send it to API.
Okay, understood. Yeah.
Karthik,
Yeah.
one more question. You
Yes.
have this, you're saying products is the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a database. Product is a database. Clothing is the container.
Okay. Product is a database, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's different to how the SQL Server works, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we, we are querying the products, either table or database, whatever it is. But how do we, what's the container, what does the container do within the database?
So you can have the container logic is similar to the tables, but
Okay.
because it's JSON format, it has a different concept. But here the partition key is the one helping you to maintain your data sizes separation. But this product, okay, if I go, so just 1 minute, I'll just take some good example.
Sorry about dragging.
So if I So here you can see the description for the container ID, unique identifier for the container, and used for ID based routing through REST or SDK. So this container ID we selected will help us to maintain our items.
Okay.
And I can't directly compare with the table, but it is like a logical grouping.
Okay, within the table, kind of like a view.
The challenge is like relational table and this NoSQL based like JSON format. Straight away we cannot compare. That is the
Okay.
main issue.
Okay, that's fine.
So let me. I think we had some screenshot last week. I think let me take that. Yeah. So you can see here. This is the structure of your Cosmos DB concept, right? So we create a database account that is your main entity for like organizational unit.
Yeah.
So this will be the organizational unit where you can create a multiple databases, and each databases will have a container, and the container is the one maintaining your store procedure and your items. And here you can see like container as a separate thing, collections, table, or a graph. So all of this information is maintained here. When it comes to items, items will have a document, row, node, and edges, like the properties of the items.
Yeah.
It's maintained here. So when you are retrieving data, you call the databases for this container, then the container will give you the list of item. So this within the item, we actually inserted the JSON format, like about the person related information, first name, last name, address, database, everything we are inserting here as a one document entry. It's a NoSQL database, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a file. Entry goes into here.
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so go back to the previous one and then the data explorer. So once we created the account and then you are creating a database and container, if you go to like a data explorer, to create a new container, we need to provide the database, this information. Last week we entered here. So now today only, because we already created the database and clothing as a container, today we try to insert more data and how the query functionality works. That was the example we have taken. So I go back to the new query here. Again, let me take the sample. So this is somewhat similar to the SQL queries, like the select star format, right? So we are trying to get more of like whatever we are familiar with condition, like where condition, order by, or a select command or joins. The same sort of information also we can use here. So I'm just going to run some from the basic query, and we can see like one by one. So if I take, I think the select command we did, right? If I want a particular ID, I just execute, which is giving me this particular ID number, and I get the value. Then if I wanted to specifically target the specific property, in this example, I have only the ID, manufacturer, and description I need. Then it is cut down version. It is same as your SQL information, how you query. And then if I wanted a specific where condition, I can provide. Then the alias commands, like in the SQL, how we use something like you provide ID of product as a P. Sometime when you are trying to do joins, you will be looking for this. And once you are familiar with these queries, then we'll explore. I think that some of the options, like similar to SQL Server, you will create some store procedure, UDF triggers. So this is just to give you some idea, like how Cosmos DB functionalities that exist, right? So if you're familiar with SQL, then it's very easy to learn Cosmos DB and this concept. So if you want to create a new store procedure, I think the store procedure, I'm trying to assume that most of us are familiar with SQL. If someone is not familiar, please stop me there so that I can try to find some good examples. So now I'm going to create a new store procedure. This is what, when you click the new store procedure, it gives you some sample information where you can simply say like the store procedure. You can give a store procedure ID and save it. Once the sample done, what I'm going to do, like I'm going to create some new procedure for creating, inserting a new value. So I go to the new SQL query, or like, sorry, new store procedure, and then here I just say paste my new information. So where I have normally like you add a function name and create my document where I'm going, because we already added the number 3, I'm going to change the values. So in through store procedure is just for a collection of queries you can use. You can group by some function name, and from your front end method, for example, I don't want to write a query for all the CRUD operation, like every time in the runtime, right? So what I can do, I can create a set of store procedures. These store procedures will help me from for example, if I have a rail or the plane ticket booking, airline tickets booking, right? I go there and say from date to date, and this is the passenger information, and this is the food they wanted. All the information selected. When you click, you are constructing the JSON format. That JSON format, you can simply send it to this store procedure. The store procedure can actually here hard coded. Literally, you can receive a parameter from the store procedure, and then you can simply execute. And this is additional option, like similar to SQL, you have various option. You can do a query, you can do store procedure. So here now I just put it my sample. So I provide my sample name here and save it. Then if I try it, okay, still loading. Then try to execute. It is asking me to provide some parameter name. So then you can simply provide what is your, if you have a, because in the function we said context and collections we are collecting, and then the each store procedure you can also have an input parameter. So in this case, like my value for this particular partition key and the value. So here I'm going to provide type. Okay, so I think 398 we already given. So let me 99. Execute, and then I provide my value and then execute. Parameter key value, partition key value, and execute. So it's created a new ID 4 and the value is now. So now if I go to the refresh, yeah, so the number 4, ID number 4, ID is added. So either you can use single query for inserting, or you can create a set of procedures, store procedures as a function, and that will be used in your API. From like you have front-end application, that front-end application will call your API, and the API underneath you have your databases. So the API is going to receive your input and pass it to the store procedure for any insert command. Or the same way you can do a delete command, or you can do update command. So this helps you to create some reusable queries that can be a function in the store procedure. And you also have a UDF, which is like some sort of like a calculations you wanted to do. You can implement here. So for example, I give a name for my UDF and some samples I have collected. So you can create similar to store procedure. You create some UDF function. In this example, right, like calculating the tax or okay, where I'm save Discord, save. Okay, let me close all of this. So here, I'm struggling to paste command here. Okay.
I think if I want to play around with this Cosmos database, do you need to pay to get an account for the Cosmos DB, or is there a free tie for that?
No, I think you will need at least some sort of like sandbox. You can, when you registered first time with your email account, you'll get some credit for 12 months.
Okay.
And you can play with that Cosmos DB.
Okay, and then we can cancel it anytime. So.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Copy. Clothing item. So I go to why it is not allowing me to. So save. Why is it exit already? Okay, it's already exists. I'm trying to add some sample value, but I'm finding difficult. So I don't know. Okay, so similar to store procedure, you can write some EDF functions, which can be like calculation function for your tax calculation or VAT calculations. So those kind of samples you can think of, and then you can put this calculation EDF function here. That again will be used through your front-end front-end logic. And so now we have what we have gone through, right? So from last week and today, so we created the Cosmos DB account, and then each account will have a we created through the data explorer, we created our database and container as a clothing, and then we managed to learn how we can insert the items, and we also learn how we can query these items. Apart from the single line of queries, you can also use some group of queries and CRUD operation through store procedure. So we explore store procedure option, and we also explore our UDF functions, which can be used for the calculations, numbers calculations. So this ends our topic of learning the insight topic. So let me. So we can explore more option, but I'm just going to stick with the AZ303 exam preparation topics. So insert query data in your Cosmos DB database is complete by this topic. Now, because we have some requests from the users to explore GraphQL, like graph databases, we're just going to create that and explore. So let me take you to the front end screen. So what you can do, like you can just simply go to Cosmos DB and create a new. When you are creating, like instead of last time we selected core SQL, instead of that you can simply select Kremlin graph. So that's what I'm going to do today, and then we can just have some samples here. So I go to create a new so just group and then graph, create a new resource group, and then I'm giving like graph 01 is my account name, and then I select Kremlin and my nearest region just for West Europe, and then do not apply. And in the global distribution, because it's a sample, I don't want because we already learned last week how this will work, but I'm not wasting the resources, just saying disable. So once you selected the database account, create. So now my Cosmos DB account is for the graph database is getting ready. Once this is ready, similar to the previous example, we have to create some database ID and graph ID and partition key. Once we provided that, we are ready to test our GraphQL concept, how it will work. So I have some sample from online. I think the credit goes to the, because the sample codes I'm taking from them, I obviously the credits with them, copyrights. So Willidia is the author of this sample code creator. Thanks for that information. So now while it is getting ready, I can, if it is going to take longer time, then I have other sample which I will run through that. So once this setup is created, you can go to your resource group and your in this one, like I have already pre-created Cosmos. So graph, this is my account, and within the account I go to Data Explorer. When I go to Data Explorer, I can create a new graph. What I have mentioned, like I will be providing some values here, like I'm going to say people DB is my database name, and then the graph ID name is people graph, and like your individual people's hobby. It's a partition key I'm creating. Once I clicked, I will get a container and the database and the container here. So same way like how we did the other one, we can simply go and add your vertex. I think that this is the one I think which I should explain. So let me, when it comes to graph database model, you will have to understand a couple of items, which is the graph objects, right? So you have vertices and edges. So vertices and edges are more important in this graph concept. Vertices, you can take example like it is refers to entities like a person, place, or event. If I create a employee table in this concept, employee table like concept will be employee will be vertices, and edges or relationship, which is like refers to the relationship between the vertices, like a person to product. Person is one vertices and product is another vertices. Then the person is purchased a product, then that relationship maintained in edges. So here in this screen you can see like person might know another person, be involved in an event, and recently been at a location. So all this relationship about the person to another vertices or another edges is maintained here. Then properties is applicable for all, either vertices or edges. Like a vertices person is one, vertices is the logical grouping we have as a person. Within that we can add a multiple properties like a person age, date of birth, all of those information. And then the last one to remember, the labels is refers to identify for the vertices. Vertex. This is like a labels can be group of multiple vertices or edges. Here you can see example. Yeah, graph can have a multiple vertices label type person. All these four categories is important to remember. Now we go into the next thing. Like for example, I created the person as a vertex, and the relationship for the person, like a Robin, Thomas, Ben, or my person entities. And this Robin, like Robin, using this laptop runs a Windows operating system. So this relationship maintains in the edges. And Robin knows Thomas, that is edges because it's a relationship. But Thomas also interested in the football. In the same way, Ben also interested in the football. So football is like sports as a vertex, but this common interest or relationship is edges. So this is something we need to remember. So now we'll jump on to the graph here. I think if the other one is created, okay, deployment completed, go to resources. Session will end in 5 minutes. Hopefully I will be able to complete this quicker. So I create, so here is a people DB and then say people graph. And hobby. So click OK. So now we are going to create, add, like once we created this container, we can add through the front end query, we can add a vertex. The vertex we can add like a person as another vertex we can add. I'll show you the example, which you can see like how the queries also work. So go to the, so this is the query window. If I just paste my sample, you can see add person as a vertex. This vertex will have a property first name, last name, age, all of this information. So just simply execute. I'm going to add some 4 users for to just to have understanding of some relationship, also to build relationship. So now I'm adding another user as Mike information, and then next I'm adding Alan. So in case you worried like what I'm entering, let me open a notepad. So here you can see the actual value. Graph.addB is a vertex we are adding as a person. The person has a property, all this information. So this is what I was referring. This is vertex and this is the property of that vertex. So once we added that, now we are good to add some relationship, the edges. So Will knows Gemma. I think the query you can see now here. So here I'm adding the relationship. Here Will also knows Gemma. So that's a relationship I'm building. So here we are just seeing some samples, but actually when you are running this in the product, like front-end logic, Karthik is traveling to Dubai and James is traveling to India via Dubai. Then we both have a common plane and the common time. So that information will be given here. I think executed. Okay. Then I have another some samples. So another relationship I'm building, and Mike also knows Gemma. So once I added all of this, what I am going to do in the query, Okay, I don't have saved one. So now we can see the relationship. I'm looking for like a from the vertex person who got a hobby of kayaking. So this gives me like various people that entered their hobbies and who got the common hobby. So this creating the graph here, you can see the graph is created. So if you go one by one, there's a sample we added. Gemma has a hiking as a hobby, and the next one will also have a same hobby, and Sloan had also have the same hobby. So this is just a sample. You can relate if you're getting confused, like what this just simply we are creating database, inserting command, how this works. You can think of like a logic like the air industry I referred, or retail industry. In Tesco or Sainsbury, you buy a product. If they wanted to know which product is selling more, and or like if they wanted to promote a particular product, or the vendor is saying, hey, I want to know like what kind of age groups are interested in my product, then you need to connect people, kind of interested people, and then from the people you can filter out what kind of age group, what kind of ethnicity. So all this relationship is all about graph. So if you want, this is in the larger scale, um, like industry, like finance industry, like share companies, people can buy many. So I think by this our session is going to end. In case if anyone have a question, please